Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of what is the Arsenal Transfer Show, joining you every morning at 8 a.m. at UK time. I hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing well. Hope you've had a fantastic start to your weeks as always, and making this, of course, part of your morning routines. Thank you for dropping likes if you've already done that. And for those that are new subscribers, welcome. For those that haven't subscribed yet, please do. And of course, to everyone that's our regular listeners as well, welcome back to the channel. Stevie, good morning to you, to Hawkwin, to Darren, good morning to Olu Darbas. We've got Johnny, we've got NSW, Rich, Ray, Vic, Josh, Amira, Clincy, Errol, Jack, we've got Matt G, we've got Masabulele, Stephen, Dave, Tony, Anthony, and plenty more of you guys as well. Thank you as always for tuning in. Let's waste no time, shall we? I think we should just crack straight on with today's stories. First of all, Alessia Russo is expected to be announced as an Arsenal player after completing her move to the club. And there were some people, I think, that seen the you may have seen on social media things going around like the stadium tours are kind of suspended on certain days. Well, it seems to be that one of those reasons was because Alessia Russo, of course, and the announcement of her transfer will hopefully be coming out very soon, and we'll hopefully see that announced, and a massive signing for Arsenal, adding huge amounts of quality and talent to their forward line. As we talked about already, we've already added Lacasse, and now we're adding Alessia Russo as well to the fold. And when you see Beth Mead and Viv Miedemar coming back as well, all of a sudden Arsenal's attack is quite impressive indeed. Plenty of goals, plenty of options for Jonas Eidevall to use next season, and Arsenal will be pushing to try and once again battle and usurp Chelsea from their dominant position in the Women's Super League. So fingers crossed. Let's wait and see how successful Arsenal can be in the WSL next season. Arsenal's players have returned to training. Fantastic news, of course. Hopefully we get to see some inside knowledge of who's back, who's ready, who's fit. Of course, not all the players have returned. Jesus, Nketiah, Marquinhos, Trossard, Holding, White and Cedric are said to be back, according to the photos that were uploaded to the Arsenal website. But there's a number of players that are still, or we are still trying to wait and see whether or not they're going to be fit and ready. Saliba, not spotted. Tomiyasu, not spotted, despite the fact that they did not take part in international football. They're still recovering from injury. Martinelli, also not featuring either. There was suggestions that those players were training and had a training session, I think, in Spain. So there's work being done to get them back to full fitness. And, of course, other players that were away on international duty, Emil Smith-Rowe and Matt Turner, still are. And then, of course, you've got the likes of Folarin Balogun, of course, who hopefully will be coming back soon from his time with the United States. Austin Trusty, of course, too, will be finally rejoining and getting involved in his first Arsenal training sessions. And then, of course, we've got other players that have been playing with the national side, like Bukayo Saka, like Aaron Ramsdale, of course. And it'll be great to see maybe some new signings popping up. Kai Havertz, of course, played for Germany, so he'll be returning to Arsenal in the next week or two. So fingers crossed, we can see lots of positivity around the club very soon. Now, Edu has done a big thing. Edu has improved significantly in the sales department. He's improved in the recruitment department. We've all been talking about the signings that Edu is making, but what perhaps we have not talked about enough is the potential sales that Arsenal are going to do this summer, because there's not been that much movement. However, multiple reports confirming yesterday, multiple outlets suggesting and reporting that Edu has secured a £21.5 million deal to secure the exit of Granit Xhaka to buy Leverkusen. Previous suggestions were around that £13 million deal. 21.5 is a lot of money for a player who's now 30, who had just 1 year left on his contract, and is basically less than half, more than half, of what we ultimately paid the club. Who was it? Borussia Mönchengladbach, that's who it was. Tip of my tongue. When we signed him, we paid just under £40 million to sign Granit Xhaka. So 21.5 million getting in. massive, massive credit to Edu. And, I hope that his biggest critics also hold their hands up and say fair play to Edu for getting that deal done. Now, there are suggestions circulating on social media yesterday that Arsenal and Arteta in particular wants to keep Folarin Balogun at the club. I saw aggregators yesterday spreading the news that was reported by an account called Hazem Tarek, who suggested that throughout his spell at Reims in France, that Arsenal have been very much in touch with the striker and his representatives. And there are ongoing talks, apparently, regarding his future. And Mikel Arteta has been very impressed with him and wants to keep him. I've not been able to verify this information. I just want to make that very, very clear. I'm going to try and do some digging on this today and see what's going on in the world of Folarin Balogun. But he will return to the club after an extended holiday because he took part in the Gold Cup with the US, which they won, of course, as well. The Nations League, rather, not the Gold Cup, which they won. But it's, if true, obviously good news. And we want to, and I've said for a long, long time that I want to see Folarin Balogun at the club next season. I want to see him given an opportunity. And I think that it means that Arsenal don't have to go out and bring in a forward because we've already got a regular goal-scoring forward coming back into the fold to compete with Jesus and Nketiah. So fingers crossed that this news is true and that the source is correct on this. But based upon, what we're seeing and what we've heard, it's going to be a big, big job to convince him that he has got a pathway into the Arsenal first team for next season, because all the suggestions that we have had is that, he wants to play regular football. He wants to start every single game pretty much. And the expectation is that he's going to need some real convincing to keep him at the club and not move on. So let's wait and see. But those are the reports, but I'm going to try and do some, I'm going to try and do some digging on this one today to see if we can drag anything up on it. This is an interesting story. Yesterday, we talked a little about Romeo Lavia, and we talked about how Liverpool had kind of taken the lead in the race to sign Romeo Lavia. However, according to the Times, Arsenal are to make their move for Lavia after they have completed a deal for Declan Rice. That was what was reported earlier on yesterday. Later on yesterday, Darmesheth of Sky Sports reported that Arsenal have no interest in Lavia, who does not have two V's in his name. But when it comes to an interesting confliction of stories, it is difficult when you see kind of two contrasting stories in such a short space of time to one another. The Times, very well connected. Darmesheth, very, very well connected indeed. That's very with two V's, by the way. But I think that from my side anyway, I am aware that Arsenal do have an interest in Romeo Lavia, that there is an existing interest in the player. As I have talked with you guys about, my understanding is that any contact has been on the player's side. There's not been discussions between Arsenal and Southampton officially, at least. And maybe that's why the no interest line from Darmesh is coming from that side of things. Maybe it's coming from the side that the clubs have not spoken, and maybe that contacts at Southampton have suggested that Arsenal haven't said anything, because from my understanding, it's kind of more of a player side of things where discussions have taken place. But the Times reporting that Arsenal will make a move after the securing Declan Rice. Let's wait and see. There's only going to be one that's going to be right. Let's put it that way. Either Arsenal will indeed formalise their interest, or it'll be a case where Arsenal don't make a move for Lavia. But either route seems very much open at this stage. And lastly, and rather penultimately, not lastly, penultimately, Arsenal have apparently held talks over a potential deal to sign Benjamin Henrichs, the RB Leipzig defender, regular starter in Marco Rosa's side, who of course went on to win the DFB Pokal again last season. He started in the DFB Pokal, the quarterfinals in the 2-0 win over Dortmund. He started the semi-final in a 5-1 win over Freiburg, and he started the final in a 2-0 win over Frankfurt. He can play as a right back. He can play as a left back and has played there at times. He can also play as a right wing back as well. Henrichs is a player of significant versatility, and therefore it is unsurprising to see Arsenal linked with a player of his profile German international as well, of course, and has played 10 times for the German senior national side. Is a talented player, and certainly in his versatility fits the mould of what Arsenal look for. He is 26 years of age. He's not a burgeoning talent by any means, and it's said that RB Leipzig don't have an interest in selling him and do not want to lose him this summer. So it'll be intriguing to see if Arsenal do make a move. Also very interesting what it means for some other players, because after bringing in Yuri and Timber, and you've still got Tomiyasu, you've got Ben White, of course, what would be the motive around it? Well, Henrichs does offer some different characteristics at right back to White and Tomiyasu and Timber. You know, he can get up the flank a lot more. You know, he is more adept at playing further forward. He's even played in centre midfield. It kind of shows his ability to play an inverted style of role if you ever wanted him to. He got 2 goals and 3 assists in the Bundesliga in 30 appearances last season. So 5 goal contributions, 1 every 6 games. Not too bad for a fullback. Very interesting option for Arsenal. That's according to Florian Pletterberg. So let's see if there's any deal in the next few weeks or so. I mean, it said, according to Kicker, and sticking with fullbacks, that Joao Cancelo remains high on Arsenal's list of potential options. It's said that the Portuguese international is more keen on a potential move to Spain, with a preference of the likes of Barcelona or Real Madrid. But at the moment, there aren't offers from those 2 teams forthcoming. And apparently Arsenal's interest is real in this sense, according to Kicker, who say that Arsenal will be considering a move for the Manchester City fullback. I still find it difficult to see Pep Guardiola sanctioning another kind of move to the Premier League and another Premier League club like Arsenal, for instance, after what happened with Zinchenko and Jesus. So let's wait and see on this one. But this is the first suggestion we've seen in quite some time of Joao Cancelo's potential interest from Arsenal. Let's see how it develops. But Arsenal said to be having him high on their list of options. So let's wait and see. Right then, let's move to part 2 and your questions right after this. Now, I do have some news regarding those that want to get involved with our fundraiser that are from abroad. So, of course, if you're based in the UK, all you need to do is go down to the link in the description. You can donate to our cause, and I absolutely encourage you to do so. However, unfortunately, I did have it confirmed to me yesterday that Cantor Macmillan do not accept donations, unfortunately, from abroad at the moment. And with us less than £100 away from our £100 total, I know that there have been a lot of people that have reached out saying from abroad that they would like to support the cause. If you would like to support the cause, we have a way around this, but you'll need to send me a DM on any of my socials. So that's at the Gooner Talk on Instagram, at the Gooner Talk TV on Twitter. You can email, there's an email on the YouTube About page for the channel. So anywhere along those 3 routes, if you would like to donate and you're based outside of the UK, send me a DM and we'll work out the way in which we can basically do it, because unfortunately they don't support it directly through the website if you're outside of the UK. But we have got a way, after discussing with them, how we can kind of get around that. So do send me a DM and hopefully we can get your donations into the total. But thanks to everyone that continues to support it. Natasha, Pat, Ben, Leo, Matt, Faye, and Grace. Thank you so much, everybody that's continuing to donate. It does mean a lot to us. Right then, let's crack on, shall we, and take some questions from the chat box. If you haven't obviously already dropped a like, there's over 1,700 of you watching. It would be very much appreciated if you just click that thumbs up button. It would mean a lot. So thank you. Jaden, says, Tom, who would you keep between Balogun and Nketiah, and the price would you sell them for? Because Højlund is apparently worth 75 million, and he's only scored 9 goals at Atalanta, and Balogun has scored 21 at Reims in France. Again, I find it hard to do the comparisons. You know, I know that people say X player's worth this and X player's, Y player's worth this, but they're not going for the same price. There's loads of factors related. You got to think of the fact that Man United are the team that are going for Rasmus Højlund. We don't have teams of the caliber of Man United chasing Balogun, at least publicly that we know of right now. The same goes for Nketiah. You know, the teams that are after Balogun, at the moment, a team's out on the continent, which again changes things, changes the dynamic. It doesn't have the Premier League money. I know that clubs like AC Milan, who would certainly put on par with, say, kind of the size of a club as Man United, but the financials for a club like AC Milan are very different to the financials of a club like Manchester United, and that comes into things when you're valuing players. I think from Balogun's perspective, I've always said I want upwards of £35 million. It's important to point that out, whereas the Rasmus Højlund suggestions are between 60 and 70 million euros. That's according to Fabrizio Romano. So you're closer to 53 to 60 million pounds for Højlund. I've always wanted upwards of 35, as close to 40 as possible, and I would have been open with a potential sale. There has been reports suggesting that Arsenal would want closer to £50 million, which would be great, obviously, if we could secure that. But I would rather keep Balogun of the two. I'd rather move Nketiah on. I think Nketiah has had his time. I know what we can get from Nketiah. I know what he's going to give us, whereas Balogun's more of an unknown quantity, and I think I'd like to see him given an opportunity next season. Cactus Jack says, what are your thoughts on the rumours that the Rice deal might fall through? I think it's just people trying to wind people up, to be honest. There's been no suggestions at all that there's been a problem, that there's going to be a problem. So I wouldn't pay too much attention to that. I think it's just people trying to wind Arsenal fans up on a West Ham side. So, yeah, I wouldn't pay too much attention to that if I was you at all. Mohamed says, you are Arteta. Oh, my hair is just perfect. Who would you start against the MLS All-Stars, assuming that Rice and Timber's deals are already done? It's a good question, and it's difficult to say who would I start, because often what we see is different teams play, first half a team plays, second half another team plays. I think that there is potential to see, of course, Rice and Timber start that game. I think what Arsenal starting to doing is, as they go into Premier League season, is, start the starting 11, play the starting 11 that you're going to play and get them working and learning each other's positions and characteristics and positions and things like that. So, yeah, I don't think Timber starts with us immediately, ironically, but Saliba's fitness is a problem. So you'd probably start White, Timber, Gabriel, Zinchenko, Rice. If Partey's still here, then maybe Partey. If not, Havertz and Ødegaard in that kind of attacking two. And then the front three, as usual, be Saka, Jesus, and Martinelli. If Martinelli's not fit still, which, there are question marks, but it wasn't said to be serious. And if he's not fit, then Trossard would go onto that left-hand side, or Smith Rowe. You could use either of those two. So I think there are plenty of options for us to have consideration for. Ashley Culler says, can Timber, Havertz, and Rice described as 5 signings because of their versatility? 2-11s create disengagement, e.g. don't need Tierney replacement because Tommy and Kivior played before him last season. No, in short. I know what you're saying, Ashley, but no, because obviously at the end of the day, you could really do with the numbers. If you have an injury or two, it doesn't matter if you're a very versatile player. You can't cover 2 positions. So, no, in numbers form, no, they don't. I absolutely understand what you're saying, and they can cover a number of positions themselves, but they can't be considered 5 signings, because if one of them was to get injured, then you're technically saying you're losing cover for 2 roles, which you are, but it's a numbers game, isn't it? So better to protect yourself with numbers than it is assuming that a player will remain fit for the full season. AFC Cape Town says, Tom, you're forgetting that Balogun doesn't want to fight to get into the team. Now, this is assuming that these reports are true regarding his desire to play regularly. Now, there's a very big difference, right? And let's get this straight. And I think this is important to clarify. The news we've heard from the Balogun side of things, and the reports that we've heard from Balogun side of things, is that it's not, he doesn't want to fight to get in the team. That's not what we've heard. So disregard that immediately. What we've heard is that Balogun wants guarantees about regular game time. Now, we've heard nothing to say that he's been told that's not going to be the case at Arsenal, because he's not even been back to the club yet, right? The other side of things is that obviously there are interests from a lot of clubs around Europe, and in England as well in the player. But there's been no suggestion at all and no report saying he does not want to fight to get in the team. If he is told that if he stays, he is going to get opportunities and minutes and time and regular time on the pitch, we don't know what the outcome might be. So we can't assume that the position of Balogun is that he doesn't want to fight, because we've not heard that. No one suggested that. The suggestions is that he wants guarantees about game time and regular starting opportunities. Now, we don't know whether or not that's going to be the case yet. So let's wait and see what happens. But from my perspective, the suggestions that Balogun doesn't want to fight it to get in the team, I don't know who's told you that, but certainly, I don't know where that's coming from. So please feel free to send me the report that suggests that he doesn't want to fight to get in the team. Rayan says, Tom, I think many fans are forgetting Smith Rowe didn't really play last season. This is also Vieira's season to settle in. He kind of had last season to settle. This is the season for Vieira to now flourish and to kick on. It's his last season, in my view, to be able to convince me he's worthy to stay. We are well stocked in midfield, should all be fit and firing. We have a lot of depth in the midfield, for sure. I think if Partey leaves, you need to bring in one more, personally. If Partey goes, I think we need one more. So let's wait and see if that happens. Evgeny says, are we really going for Tchouaméni? Again, as I said yesterday, I've heard nothing to suggest that we are. So it's not to say that we're not. I've just personally heard nothing to suggest that we are moving on that front at the moment. I don't think Nathan Smith Rowe will have a spell out on loan. I'd be very surprised if that happened. I don't think that will be the case. Darach says, might a swap deal be on the cards with Xhaka and Diaby? No, because the agreement of around £21.5 million is there with Leverkusen, so it'll be a straight sale. It's very rare you get swap deals. Does that improve relationships between the clubs? Maybe. Will it be easy to sign Diaby in the future? Maybe. I don't know. So, but Diaby doesn't look like he's a player that we're moving on right now. Easy says, hey, Tom, do you see Trossard as a left 8 option? He played as a wing-back before, so he can defend, and he's good going forwards. Well, I mean, just because you play wing-back doesn't mean that you can defend. A lot of people are very disparaging of Zinchenko's defensive ability, despite the fact that he can play in defensive positions and fullback. And Tierney, people say Tierney defends better than Zinchenko. I wouldn't say Tierney is an amazing defender. I'd say he's much more of an offensive-minded fullback than he is a defensive-minded fullback that has great defensive abilities. I think his offensive abilities are far greater. But Trossard, I think, can play that role. And I think the older that Trossard gets, the more he moves into his 30s, I think you'll see him probably move more into the midfield. So I think that's naturally a bit of a progression that I see in his ability. Like, you think about the small, low center of gravity. You think about Santi Cazorla when he used to play it in the wide areas in his mid to late 20s. And then as he got further into his late 20s and 30s, he started to move more into central midfield. And I kind of see a similar pathway to Santi and see those links with the two there. Captain says, the reliable David Ornstein said he wants guaranteed game time. He's not interested in any loans and not interested in signing a new contract. How can we keep him? Again, so that none of what you said there, Cape Town, was the whole, he doesn't want to fight for his place. Those words were not used by David Ornstein, and that's a very different sentence. As I said, he wants guaranteed game time. He's not interested in a loan. And in terms of signing a new contract, I'm personally not sure about that part. David Ornstein, Folarin Balogun. Let's see if that part is true or not. He has no plans to sign a new contract beyond June 2025 or go out on loan. So I suppose the contract thing will change depending upon if he was to be given an opportunity. So at this moment in time, he has no plans to sign a new deal unless things change. So that's the important caveat to that one. But as I said, it's nothing to do with not wanting to fight. It's about the situation that he's ultimately in. William says, William Saliba injured, new member. Question, Tom, thoughts on getting Edson Alvarez instead of Lavia? Of course, his move to Borussia Dortmund seemed to have fallen apart, unfortunately. I think ultimately with a player like Edson Alvarez, again, there's a risk factor because he's coming from abroad, coming from Ajax, same as Timber. Is there going to be question marks about that transition? I think he's a good player. Chelsea really wanted him a while ago. Is he the type of player that is the right fit? I'm not sure. I think that as a defensive midfielder, Arsenal want something that's more of a 6/8 than an out-and-out 6 if we sign Rice. So I think we're more looking for a Lavia-style player that can progress, and playing more of a centre midfield role than a defensive midfield role. But he's a good player. So who knows? Maybe Arsenal will come in for him. We'll have to wait and see. Matt G says, Tom, what's the strangest Arsenal fan transfer take you've seen this window? Mine is I've seen some fans suggest that we should bring in De Gea as backup to Ramsdale. The strangest Arsenal transfer take I've seen, people that tweeted Edu out. It's a pretty strange thing, very strange to say Edu out. I think that was pretty strange. Strangest take. Oh, that's a really good question, actually. I'll have a think. I'll come back to that, Matt G. Maybe something will inspire me, but I'll come back to that and see if I can think of something. Because on the spot, I haven't got anything at this moment in time. Let's go to Derek says, with Reece Nelson not under contract, can he practice with the squad? Great question. Yes, I think he can. I think if you think about Robert Pires and you think about David Beckham and you think about Thierry Henry, players out of contract at clubs, trained and were given permission to train with Arsenal. So, yes, I think so. I think, Derek, he can. Good question, though. But I certainly think that he can do that. Interesting that he's not back at the club at the moment. Very interesting indeed, actually, because he wasn't involved in international duty unless he's been given an extended holiday. Interesting he wasn't pictured yesterday. Maybe there's a reason why. Maybe they purposely didn't picture him if he's there, but very intriguing indeed. J House Media says, would I take Kane on a free? Yeah, I'm not paying 100 million quid for him, though. I'd rather he went off to like Bayern or something, to be honest. But to take him off of Spurs would be hilarious. So on a free, yeah, I would. Yeah. Eden Hazard. Right, there it is. I think Jonas knew. There it was. There it is. There is the strangest suggestion. Eden Hazard on a free. No chance. Absolutely no chance. Mr. Juslin says, are lawyers present when players sign new contracts? I guess sometimes. Legally, there's a lot of things going on with contracts. Obviously, the players' agents are there. Intermediaries are there. The clubs, kind of the likes of Richard Garlick, Edu are there. Lawyers, though, I don't know why a lawyer would necessarily need to be present at a contract signing. Maybe there's a need for... I don't think so, though. All the legalities of a contract would surely be sorted out, when they write the contract up. That would have the lawyer stuff involved. But the actual signing of the contract, I don't necessarily think would need a lawyer there. Interesting question, though. But no, I don't think that there would need to be. See, now you're just trying to come up with crazy stuff. Aubameyang coming back. Goodness me. Pavel says, any news on a Saka backup? No, I think there's suggestions that, Jesus and Nelson will certainly be providing competition on that right wing spot. So I think that that's probably where that is. There's just not that many options, unfortunately, that are realistic financially for Arsenal to pursue during this window. And Arsenal, if they're going to re-sign Reece Nelson up to a new contract, arguably they probably don't need to. So, I don't see a right winger coming in at the moment. So let's wait and see. Takuma Asano on loan. I suppose Kylian Mbappe is probably the craziest suggestion so far. That is probably the craziest one that we've had that's genuine. And we've actually seen reports, some people claiming that Arsenal have an interest in potentially trying to sign Mbappe. I think that's probably the craziest one that we've had during this window. So, yeah, there you go. Iceman says, Tom, what's a good place for Arsenal updates with Twitter going down? I wonder. I wonder. I wonder what could be a good place to get your Arsenal updates if Twitter goes down. Well, I think there's somewhere at 8 a.m. every day that gives you everything that's happened in the last 24 hours. So that would be my recommendation, personally. I'm not going to recommend other channels because, oh, my days. I did say, when someone asked the question, what's your top 5 YouTube channels? And I said what the channels I watch were. And I said categorically, I knew that I was going to forget some, but my goodness, did people lose their rag in the chat, in the comment section. How could you not mention this person? How could you not mention this? It's like, why are you taking it so personally? I told you I was going to forget people. And some people I just don't watch. It's as simple as that. So honestly, I knew it was a dangerous question to ask me when I said YouTube channels that I watch, because I was always going to forget people, and people are always going to disagree. Sim, our Gunners, yes, the Reddit page is very good for stuff. If you're not aware of it, the our Gunners on Reddit is a very good place to stay updated on all things Arsenal. So I would recommend it. Esmond says Chelsea looks like they want to keep selling. Why do we not go back in for Mudryk? He's so good. Because I imagine that we're pretty well stocked on the left-hand side now. We brought Trossard in. We have Smith Rowe. Nelson can play there as well. Jesus can play there. We're very well stocked on the left. I don't think we need to bring anyone in on the left wing at the moment. So that's why we aren't going to go back in for Mudryk. They also don't want to sell him. So there you go. Yeah, I know, John, it was your question. You really sparked some chaos in the chat, in the comment sections. It's just the way that it goes. If you say that you like waffles, people will have a go at you because you said you didn't, or because you've not said you like pancakes. That is the world that we live in. It's a very human reaction to things, certainly. Dara says, thoughts on Kai Havertz being on a 330k a week? Someone tell me where this report's come from, because someone please tell me where these numbers are from. I'd love to know. I'd love to know where Havertz, 330 per week. Where is it? Let's have a look. Sports Builds is reporting that Kai Havertz will be Arsenal's highest paid player on £330,000 per week and could even earn more based on bonuses. If there's any suggestions that he's on that level of money, goodness me, no, just no. And even if it was, it would only be that high if every single bonus was achieved, and the bonuses would have to be crazy bonuses to get that high. So I imagine that the base kind of wage is going to be significantly lower than what it actually is being reported in that sense. Wages are horribly reported things. I'd always say to anyone, even if it's not even from like Italy, like no matter where it's from, take it with a pinch of salt. Always take those wages with a pinch of salt. Awesome. Ibra says, will Timber being announced today? I don't think so. I think there's suggestions that announcements are more going to be towards the end of the week rather than the early part of the week, unfortunately. So yeah, don't expect an announcement today other than Alessia Russo. So there you go. Thank you everyone for tuning in. It is very much appreciated as always, and I hope that you continue to tune in on the channel. I'll be back, of course, a little bit later on this morning on the Arsenal Way. There might be a show. There's probably certainly going to be a show for you later on this afternoon and this evening as well. Looking forward to that. I hope that you have a fantastic day and enjoy yourselves. Stop scrolling and refreshing Twitter, otherwise you're going to use your allowance up by by like midday. All I can suggest people is that those people that you think are going to bring you the updates, turn on notifications for those people on your Twitter, and then just put your phone down. And if it buzzes, then you can check the updates on the accounts that you need to check the updates from. So look, there you go. Akmal, a Rice breakdown is coming. Don't you worry. I will be bringing you a Declan Rice breakdown in the near future. There is things going on behind the scenes. I'm doing my best. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. It's very much appreciated. I'll see you very soon. And as always, stay safe, stay well. And as always, up the Arsenal.